So I don't know if this ever happened to you, but for me, it feels like very often a book will pop up in my life exactly when I need it and gives me just the guidance I need to keep going forward. So today I thought I would take a few minutes to share with you the 10 creativity books that helped me the most on my journey towards reclaiming my creativity. I only have time in this video to share a brief flavor of each of these books, but if there's one of them you're interested in, let me know in the comments below and I'll make a more in-depth video on that specific book. So I tried to think of a way to organize my list. At first I thought I'll do them chronologically in the order in which I came upon these books. But then I thought that's not very helpful for you. So I decided to do something a little bit different. Think of a spectrum. On one side of the spectrum, you have the real world. This is practical tips, professional experiences, things that are very relevant to your everyday life and grounded in quote-unquote reality. On the other side of the spectrum, you have what I'm calling woo-woo land. So this is things that are a little bit out there. We're talking about the realms of intuition, imagination, and spirituality. I love the full spectrum. So we're going to start with the quote-unquote real world and work our way over towards woo-woo land. Are you ready? Let's dive in. So the first book on my list is Creativity, Inc. This is by Pixar's Ed Catmull and Amy Wallace. In this book, Ed gives a breakdown, a behind-the-scenes view on the golden age of Pixar and how they create this amazing creative culture that defies the odds and keeps churning out both critical successes and commercial successes, time after time after time. The second book on my list is Creative Competence by Tom and David Kelly. In this book, they draw on their experiences at IDEO, the famous design agency, and also at Stanford's D School. The book is full of inspiring stories of people harnessing their creativity and creating an impact. This book had an impact on me for two main reasons. The first is that they talk about how everyone is creative, including you, including me, including the people who think, I don't have a creative bone in my body. This book is a big pep talk to say, yes, in fact, everybody has the capacity to be creative. This book is also full of practical exercises to help you get engaged in your creativity with your teams at work or on your own. So check it out. The third book on my list is Creativity and Its Cultivation. This book is from 1959. It's basically a compilation of an academic symposium. The people writing essays in this book are impressive. So we have Abraham Maslow, Carl Rogers, Margaret Mead, and my own personal favorite, Erich Fromm. So his essay in here really shifted how I think about creativity. He talks about what he calls the creative attitude. He says creativity isn't what we do. It's not making art. It's not drawing a picture or choreographing a dance. Creativity is an attitude, essentially a mindset. And so we can do anything in a creative way. I'm afraid I think this book might be out of print, so it's a little bit cheeky of me to include it in the list, but if you can find a copy, I highly recommend it. You're getting amazing minds thinking about creativity from such different angles, and it's very thought-provoking. Similarly, the next book on my list is called The Creative Process, which is also a compilation of many different people speaking about their own creative process. There's entries by Albert Einstein, Gertrude Stein, Vincent van Gogh, and many more. So this book is fascinating because it's essentially primary source material. It's creative people talking about their own creative process. And what this book taught me is that there's no one way that the creative process looks like. Yes, of course there's some patterns, but really everyone is finding their own creative process. And this book gave me the freedom to say, you know what? Go and find your own creative process, the one that works for you. The next book on my list is The Creative Doer by Anna Lovind. It's subtitled A Brave Woman's Guide from Dreaming to Doing. As the subtitle implies, this book is targeted towards women, but you don't have to be a woman to get a lot out of this book. Anna has so much wisdom to share about the creative process. I think I've dog-eared like almost every page of this book. So that gives you a sense for how much insight I've gotten from this. I thought I would share just one excerpt to give you a taste of this book to see if it might be for you. Anna writes, "The truth is, you know very little about the end goal of your journey anyway, or who you will be when you get there. The reality of creative work is that you will often need to act before you're even sure of what you're doing. But your soul knows, your gut feeling tells you you're on the right track, and each step you take grows you into the person who is able to take the next step and the next. We make the path by walking it." This message is like medicine to the part of me that wants to know what it's going to look like, how is it going to happen, feeling control over the outcome. But creativity doesn't work that way. And what Anna's saying in this little excerpt is that we don't have to know, that we'll get there just by going step by step. The next book is The Artist's Journey by Steven Pressfield. Now, Steven Pressfield is better known for his earlier book, The War of Art, where he introduces us to the concept of resistance with a capital R, this natural force that arises whenever we try to venture outside our comfort zone. He normalizes it, and he gives us a pep talk about how to deal with it every single day. But for me, while I found The War of Art very helpful, it was The Artist's Journey that really rocked my world. In it, he talks about how first we go on a hero's journey to discover what it is that we are meant to bring into the world. What's the specific elixir that, because of our lived experiences, is our unique medicine to offer the world. So he says that's the first step. But then, that's when the artist's journey begins. Once you've discovered what your specific medicine is, the artist's journey is about how do you actually get that medicine out into the world and express it again and again and again. So next we have Letters to a Young Poet by Rilke. This book is dreamy and puts me in a very calm, reflective space. Of course, Rilke was this amazing poet with a mystical bent, and this book is in fact letters that he wrote to an aspiring young poet. So it's quite inspirational, it's quite encouraging, very gentle. To me, the piece of wisdom that stuck out most to me from this book is where Rilke talks about living the questions. He says, "Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart, and to try to love the questions themselves. Like locked rooms and like books that are written in a very foreign tongue. Do not now seek the answers, which cannot be given you, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer." So to me, this idea of living the question, of actually letting it go unsolved for a period of time and actually letting our lived experience slowly, bit by bit, yield an answer. To me, this speaks so much to the essence of the creative process and what it means to live a creative life. Next, we have Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I loved this book so much that when Elizabeth Gilbert came to London, I signed up for a full-day workshop with her where she led us through exercises based on the themes in this book. What stuck with me the most is how she talks about fear. She says, doing a creative project is like going on a road trip, and fear has to come along. We unfortunately can't leave fear behind, but fear gets to sit in the back seat, and it does not get to navigate. It doesn't get to even play DJ. It just gets to sit there and come along for the fun. It can freak out in the back seat, but we're going to go forward in the direction of this creative dream regardless. Next, we have The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. This book is, of course, a classic. I don't think any list of books about creativity is complete without it. And here, Julia gives us a 12-week program towards recovering our creativity. While there's so much wisdom in this book, the beauty is in the exercises. Very simple, very doable exercises that get us back into the zone of our creative selves. Last but certainly not least is Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. This is one of my absolute favorite books. And again, you can see I've pretty much dog-eared every page. This book is so full of wisdom, and she does it in such a beautiful way. Each chapter includes a folk tale, which she puts her own creative spin on, and then extracts and unpacks the layers of wisdom that are embedded in these folktales. Specifically, she talks about how we can rewild ourselves, and that's a theme across the whole book. But several of the stories focus on creativity more specifically. This video is already long enough, so I'm going to stop there, but I hope that you found at least one book on this list that you didn't know about and that you're excited to explore. I hope it helps you in the process of reclaiming your own creativity, and thanks for watching. See you next time.